Mackenzie Johnston here with the Tri-State Livestock News, discussing issues currently facing the cattle industry and how to find common ground and real solutions so fair cattle markets can be achieved. Today we have the honor of speaking with Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa. Senator Grassley, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your busy day to speak with us. What do you feel are the major issues standing in the way of fair cattle markets currently?
The main one is, I think, the pandemic and the economy slowing down, people not spending as much money, not eating out as much, eating more at home. Probably when it comes to livestock prices, and particularly beef, it takes a lot of work to get it ready, and maybe people are eating pizzas instead of that. So I think number one answer to your question is to get the pandemic over and get our country back to normal. Also, I would indicate that in the interim, you just don't forget about it. So there's $24 billion that was put in CCC for grain, livestock, and specialty crops. And that was put in because the price was dropping like a stone, and not because of what we're dealing with now with pigs, where there may have to be some depopulation of pigs.
Right.
That's a whole bigger problem, that if we're going to take care of the economic concerns of those farmers, and I hope we will, that's going to take more money than what's in the CCC. So anyway, because of these low prices, get out just as fast as we can the $19 billion that the Secretary of Agriculture has put out there to help agriculture. And that's going out too slow as far as I'm concerned. I've had conversations with him, the president, the vice president, on this point, that there's too much red tape in Washington getting this out. And when the Secretary of Agriculture says it might not be out till January or till June the 1st, I know he wants to get it out sooner, but when he talks about software problems and getting regulations approved and all that, it shouldn't take all the time that he seems to indicate it might take. So we're trying to get that money out faster. And then there's one other issue that doesn't deal with the immediate problem, and if I'd been successful in past years on this, we might not have this problem now where prices sink for the farmer and the prices go up for the consumer. And that is not enough competition in the slaughtering. 3 or 4 big companies probably control 75% of the slaughter, not enough competition. Then packing companies own livestock, and they kill their own livestock before they buy from the independent producers. There's not enough market room for an independent producer to get a decent price, and it's very unfair to compete against packer ownership of livestock. So solving that problem, I'm putting a bill in on that. I've tried that before and haven't been successful, but now there's a renewal of interest by beef producers in getting that bill passed, and I hope we can do that. And then one other thing, dealing with the marketplace, is I've written a letter to both the Secretary of Agriculture and the Attorney General to make use of the Packers and Stockyards Act and the antitrust laws to make sure that there's plenty of competition in this business of raising cattle, slaughtering cattle, buying and selling, and all that, so we can get less of a differential between what the farmer gets and what the consumer has to pay.
What do you feel that individuals can help do to bring about these changes? What can independent producers do to help set these changes in motion and maybe get some relief a little bit faster?
If it involves government, because government shouldn't get into what an independent farmer decides what he wants to do to raise or not raise, or when to market or to market, and when to forward contract or not forward contract, and all the sort of contractual relations he can have with with the slaughterhouses and all that. That's all up to them. But if there's anything on public policy that they can do, it's for them to keep in touch and join the organizations that back farming, whether it's the beef producers, the pork producers, or the Farm Bureau. Speak to their congressional delegation, just like I've had conversations with pork producers, with beef producers on these phone calls that I've been doing from my farm at New Hartford, Iowa, because I'm isolated too, to express their views and concerns, and that in turn causes us to have 3 or 4 conversations with the Secretary of Agriculture, one with the President, 1 or 2 with the Vice President, the Chief of Staff, things like that we try to get their message through to Washington, D.C. And I know that's working in other states, because one time a week ago I had a conversation with Secretary Perdue, and 12 other senators were on the call, and then for sometimes there was more than one senator on the call with the Secretary of Treasury dealing with the Small Business Loan Program, and that Small Business Loan Program, farmers can qualify for that as well.
President Trump issued an executive order yesterday in hopes of keeping processing facilities open. Do you feel that this executive order by President Trump is going to help us with this backlog of cattle that we're facing?
Yes. And I'm glad I heard your question. Yeah. And it's a very important question. And I think the President, using the Defense Production Act, sends a signal of how important this is to the nation as a whole, both from the standpoint of prosperity in agriculture, as well as making sure there's enough food available for our consumers, because the old saying is you're only 9 meals away from a riot, and we don't want riots in the United States because people can't buy food. And also because there's, particularly in cattle and pigs, there's such a sophisticated, precise, from the birth of a pig, let's say, to your mouth, chain that needs to be kept running all the time in order to kill pigs to make room for the next pig that's coming along, that's been born today, as you slaughter a 250-pound hog today. And that slowed up this week to about 40% reduction in production, and that has the capability of maybe causing 700,000 pigs in a week to be euthanized, and hopefully we don't have to do that. Now, the President putting his signature on an executive order isn't going to solve the problem, but it's expressing the view of the President that this is an important function that's got to keep operating. So it puts pressure on the companies to get to it and get these plants up and running. But you can't just say we're going to open up these plants and expect people to come back to work, because some people have the virus, they can't come to work till they get over it, and for other people, they don't want to go to work because they think they might get sick and die. So you've got to slowly build confidence in that process. So we've had the CDC and the Labor Department, mostly OSHA under the Labor Department, get together and over last week issue guidance for these plants. And I spoke to the Chief of Staff of the President, Mark Meadows, Saturday night on this subject. And so they got these protocols out now, and hopefully build confidence in the workers. When these plants open up, come back to work, you're going to be safe. And I know you can't guarantee safety, but you can give people confidence you're going to do more to see that the sickness we've had out of these slaughterhouses don't happen in the mass that it happened before.
Cattle producers today have been promised by our government that the packers are being investigated for manipulation, collusion, corruption. They are deeply in the black, making record profits. However, we haven't heard anything about those investigations. There hasn't been any conclusions from that. Where are we at with those investigations? It goes all the way back to the Finney County plant in Kansas when that fire happened back in August of 2019. There was supposed to be an investigation then, and nothing came from that. So can we expect anything from this investigation that is currently going on with the Packers?
I wasn't involved in the investigation in the one in Kansas, but I am involved in this one, and the only thing I had was a positive word within the last 3 or 4 weeks that the secretary was going to take on my demand for an investigation, and I don't have anything to report.
Okay.
And hopefully I will have something to report, and if they stop to think about the reputation of Chuck Grassley, they'll make sure that I get a report.
In one sentence, can you say what the cattle industry needs most right now?
I think the thing that we can deliver for sure is X number of dollars in that $24 billion that we appropriated in the CARES Act to get it out to the individual cattle producers. I've talked everything else I talked about in this interview is more long term. But right now, we know this money's been appropriated. You know, it's up to the secretary to get the regulations and the software in place so the money can get it out.
Again, I want to thank Senator Chuck Grassley for taking a few moments to speak with us about fair cattle markets. Remember to head on over to our website, fair-cattle-markets.com, to follow along with all of our stories concerning fair cattle markets.